Oh,
And
wow.
not just sold, but sold for $100,000 over asking.
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Talk Vancouver, and today we have Kimbab ready to share with you guys. We will be talking about what is a buyer's market and what is a seller's market, and we'll also be talking about some haunted house stuff, so stay tuned. Let's get started with Kimbab. So the food of the day we're going to be trying is from Kimbab Chungkook. This is one of my favorite snacks to eat. They're very, very well known for their kimbab. You'll notice it looks like sushi. Our wonderful Sherry has never tried it, so I'm super excited to have her try it today. This is the Korean sushi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I know sushi's made, the rice is with vinegar and some sweet and salty seasoning, right?
Right.
And then the Korean version, although they're very similar, I feel like it's more crunchier. There's more vegetables.
Yeah, I think that's where like sesame oil.
And the rice is
Yeah.
made with sesame oil. And then we also paired it with the bone broth, which washes everything down really nicely. So I'm super excited for you girls to try this today.
So where are they located?
Just on North Road, I believe.
In Coquitlam.
Yes.
Perfect. I can't wait to try it and dig in.
So the topic of the day we're going to be talking about is what is a buyer's market and what is a seller's market.
So what is the difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market?
So I think the easiest and most simplest way for me to explain to someone who's not familiar with the real estate industry is that if you're in the seller's market, that just means the seller has more power. And if you're in the buyer's market, it means the buyer has more power. So in the situation that we're in today, in today's market, it's considered a seller's market because there are more buyers in the market and less sellers. So that gives sellers more power during negotiations, why multiple offers happen, things like that.
So as we all know, right now, we're in a seller's market in Vancouver, right? So what would you say are the pros and cons of being in a seller's market, maybe for the seller?
A huge pro is, there's so many multiple offers going out there. There's people competing for your property. So the prices that you're going to see is a lot. The price that you're going to get for your home is going to be a lot more than if you were in a buyer's market where buyers have control and they're negotiating down with you. Right now, if you're a seller, you're most likely going to, if you price it right specifically, if you price it right and market it right, you're going to get a lot of demand, a lot of traffic flow, and there's most likely going to be more than two buyers competing, so your prices are going to go up. They are rising very rapidly, as we've seen some of the HPIs. So your home is going to be sold quicker, right? It's an easier sell for you. Even some of the properties that aren't as nice are also going into multiple offers and selling. So that's there's a lot of good things going on for the sellers in a seller's market.
So there are some cons for the sellers being in the seller's market because things are happening so fast. A lot of the times the sellers are selling their home in order to move to their next home, right? Maybe they're downsizing or upsizing or whatever it is. So for the seller to not be prepared on how fast their home can sell could be a con because they're probably also going to be a buyer buying in that same market.
And I think the best situation is for those people who are empty nesters, right? Like they want to move out of their home that they lived in with their kids, and now their kids are all grown up now and they want to sell their place. And so they can then use that money to buy something a little bit smaller, like a condo, and pay it off completely. So that's a really great thing. But on the flip side to that, right, if you wanted to buy something a little bit larger, or your family is growing and then to move up, it's tough, right? As a buyer that's trying to get into this seller's market.
Yeah, so I think if you are selling, it's really important to have like a longer completion date, enough time for you to have to look for a new place, right? And planning is so important too. You want to make sure you talk to your mortgage broker, know exactly what you're able to afford if you sell this home, right? We don't want the situation, and I've seen it, where you sell your home and then you are scrambling within that 2 months, 3 months that you're homeless, and then you're not able to find something, and then you end up having to rent something. Meanwhile, all the prices are continually going up, right?
For sure.
Long-term planning, talk to your agent about that. It's really, really important. We always make sure that there's always ample time, and the planning is done, and the numbers are crunched at the very beginning, so it's a clear picture. Yeah.
That's true. So because it's a seller's market, so obviously for the buyer it's a little bit more tough.
So I think one of the things that a buyer could do is talk to a realtor, right? And talk about maybe some strategies about buying in a seller's market.
Talk to your realtor, have them fight for you, have them guide you. It's not impossible to buy in a seller's market, in a market like right now. We have helped a lot of people, successfully buy homes, but it's just a lot more competitive, and you really need to know what your financials are looking like, what your timeline's looking like, and you have to be aggressive and make your decision. So, yeah.
Being prepared is good. Always be prepared. It probably would be a little bit easier as a buyer is to prepare, go to the bank first, get some idea of how much you can afford first. Yeah, so if you get pre-approval for a certain amount, then you know that you're working with, this is your budget, that's what you're working with.
Right.
And when you're making an offer, when you get caught in multiple offer situations, then you know where your limit is. You don't want to go beyond your limit, because why would you make an offer for a home that you can't afford, right?
You absolutely need to know what your ceiling price is, right? And I think when emotions get involved and things are starting to bid a little bit higher, you need to know where your limit is, for sure. So that was a really great talk about buyer's market and seller's market.
Should we dig into the
food? Because I'm just smelling this. So kimbap, I do love kimbap. I'm Korean, so it's my thing. When I go to Korea, I grab some kimbap from the store and just walk around. So let's give this a try.
Yay.
So what are these? What's this one?
That's the original one.
The original?
Yeah, so it has, like, you can see lettuce and radish, and I think it's egg.
Ooh, okay.
And carrots and stuff, and tofu. This is the kimchi one, so it's got a lot of kimchi and basically that with kimchi.
Wow.
And then this one we have, I don't know, should we like foodies and share with the camera? This one has tuna in it, so we did.
Awesome. I'm gonna go for the tuna.
Me too.
I hear the tuna one's really popular. I didn't add kimchi, but I usually add the kimchi in there.
Let's give this a try.
It's kind of like sushi. Kind of.
That one's really good. I haven't had tuna.
Okay, so Gina, the other day you were mentioning that you saw some interesting piece of news regarding a haunted house.
Yes.
So tell us.
So there are a bunch of haunted houses in Vancouver, I believe, right? There was the one on Cambie. This one is on Fraser and East 10th. And from what I understand, about 30 years ago, there was a murder inside this house. I think it was some sort of an aspiring model that was living there, and someone came to the house. I don't know what happened or how they got in there, but they ended up stabbing her in the basement and trying to set the place on fire. And she ended up dying on the way to the hospital. And so this place has been vacant, I believe, since like 1991, and it's just been sitting there. And it was in the news recently that the place actually sold.
Oh,
and
wow.
not just sold, but sold for $100,000 over asking.
Wow.
And that's a heritage house too, right? And I know heritage houses have certain rules if you can't actually break them down. So whoever paid that amount must have, you know,
They're gonna keep it, most likely move in. I wonder, can you make a business out of it and just Airbnb it and
Possibly,
say,
right?
yeah, come live in a haunted house.
That stigma on that property is going to stay there forever.
Right? Yeah.
So,
And I think we do have to talk about stigma properties because I had a client who really didn't want to buy a house if someone passed away in it. So that's one thing that I had to ask every single listing to see, you know, did someone die here? And a lot of times it's kind of like they may not know, right? Because they may not be the owner from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so we'll never really find out.
I know Asian people are really, really big against that.
The fastest way, I think, would be to Google that address.
Yes.
Because if you Google the address and then, you know, a piece of news has been done on this, maybe if it was a murder, then it could end up on the news. But if it was a death of natural causes, then obviously you probably wouldn't find out online. But at least Google. Google first.
Yeah, for sure.
There was that other house as well that had a really big stigma around it. Apparently there was something that it was on Canby or something and it was left vacant for so many years and nobody bought it. But I guess recently a developer bought it and then just tore the whole thing down. Good thing it wasn't a heritage.
I think that, it's a low rise now,
Yeah.
right?
And it was a complex.
Yeah. So,
But this heritage house you can't touch.
no,
Like you can't
you
tear
have
it
to
down.
renovate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
So
what do we think about this kimbap? How would you rate it?
it was one of my favorites, so I'm gonna give it 3 thumbs up. 3.
I'm Korean and I love kimbap, so it's 2 thumbs up for me.
2 for me.
Yay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Talk Vancouver, and we hope to see you next time.
Just did a little dance.